Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. And today we're going to be discussing something that's going to be on a lot of y'all's minds, and that is what are we going to do with all this water? It continues to rain, and the lakes are going to continue to rise, and everybody's going to think, well, that's going to completely mess up the crappie fishing. And yes, it is going to mess up the way that you were planning on fishing, but we're going to give you the tips and the tricks on how to find them in this high water situation.
Action.
All right, come with me. So, I have already had a Mozart style artwork here to set things up for you. But what you're seeing here is exactly what everybody expects, and it's in our imagination of what it's going to be like come April going into May. You have your deep Christmas trees, which the fish just really aren't on. You have your stake beds, which is not where they're at yet. And then you have your perfectly placed treetop that is just jacked full of crappie. But we're not there. We're in February, and there's no leaves on the trees. They're all just bare and still sticks. So it's just all just sticks and like that. It's cold, so they're definitely not here. This is a Christmas tree, and they just really don't like those. We stick them everywhere, but we don't catch a whole lot of fish. You'll catch a few, but this is what they like. They like this 95% of the time. You're going to catch them in stake beds at times. You're going to catch one or two off of a Christmas tree, but most of the time they're in this. And this is representative of summer pool. And at summer pool, these fish, they're going to be hanging out typically, the 14 foot mark. You see that this is going to come up higher in the water column, so sometimes this might be 8, different things like that. But what we've got is we've got water that's rising up. And as the water goes up, this is going to get deeper and deeper. Now, are there still going to be fish on it? Yeah, there's going to be times there's going to be fish on it. But there's also going to be, as this water gets into these trees, they're going to spread out. With high water, you're also going to have discoloration of it. You're not going to have a lot of clear water, and whenever that water gets muddy, it's going to push these fish from them being congregated where we want them to be. They're going to begin to scatter out everywhere. And you say, well, are they going to be in this shallower structure? It's all going to depend on the water clarity. If you've got good clear water, yeah, these fish, they'll probably, some of them are going to get in these stake beds. The big thing you're going to want to look for is you're not going to see a whole lot of them in these trees. There'll be a few, but they're not going to be in these trees. But the places where we have things that look like this, like laydowns that are up here, when they're laid down up here, this is where they're going to be. We're still going to be looking to target fish in 14 foot of water, but the thing is where 14 foot used to be, it's now going to be up here. So that's where we're going to have to look for it.
Do you want me to show you how to draw a fish?
Yeah, of course I want you to show me how to draw fish. So with that being said, there's other things that are going to factor into this, and I've already kind of alluded to it, but water clarity is going to be a big part of it. Depending on where you're at on the lake is going to depend on what fish or what crappie you're targeting and what techniques you're going to be using. So is that right? Did I hear you ask what kind of pole we're going to use? Well, as much as I love using my 7 foot Wally Marshall Classic Series to cast to them and pitch to them, this isn't the time for that. With this water, the way that it's muddy and it's cold like that, it's taking a long time for the fish to get interested in the bait. Now, am I saying, oh, there's no way you'll catch a fish on a casting rod? No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that what we're seeing right now is these fish are not wanting the bait moving. They're wanting just barely sitting on them. And then with the water clarity the way that it is right now, you've got to get the bait right on them. They're not seeing it from very far. So put away your 7 footer. We're going to be using it in a couple months, probably in less than a couple months. I'm thinking by March the 15th, this is going to be back in play. But leave it at home. The water's high, the water's muddy. Get you a good 10 to 14 foot rod. Leave you 16 footers at home. It's fine. It's cold water. We're going to be able to get on these fish. But get you something between, I like a good 14-foot pole. This one here is a 12-foot, which is kind of in that middle. But get you a long rod and just be patient. The fish, they're cold. They're a little discombobulated with the way that everything's went the last couple of weeks. And they're going to eat, but it's going to take a little while. Okay, so the fish aren't exactly where we want them to be. They're not on structure. Some of them are just floating around. Some of them are coming into structure at times. We're not getting a cast to them. Oh my goodness, we can't cast, we can't set off back of them. We got to use these long poles and wait for them to bite. So we know what kind of pole we're going to use. We kind of have an idea of where to expect to find them, but what bait are we going to use? Because like you said, if we don't get the right bait, they're going to come up, they're going to look at it, and they're going to go away. We're going to be like, oh, I'm pulling my hair out, I don't know what to do. So, are we going to be using a paddle tail? No. Are we going to be using a curly tail? No. These are, I mean, we're on the brink. Don't take them out of your Amazon shopping cart because by April, we're going to have these things tied on. They're going to be chewing the ends off of them. But right now, it's February, it's cold, just hold on, we're getting there. What we're going to be using is the slab slinger. This is a wonderful bait, and the reason why I like it so much is because, see this bait? It's kind of a decently sized profiled bait. And what we can do with these baits is we can take just a rib or 2 ribs off and make it a much smaller profile bait. With this very subtle, I mean, you look, I'm holding it still, and you see that movement. That movement is going to drive fish crazy. Now, the way that I like to set it up is to go just straight to the body and leave it set up like this. Kenny, he's going to do it right opposite. He's going to do it like this. It kind of gives it just maybe a little different move. Another thing that you can do is if you believe in the different bites that you can put on, the Berkeley and the Crappie magnet, all the little bites, little dough balls, is you can stuff it right up this thing's hind end like a Christmas turkey, and it will stay in there really well. Now, I've used the bites before. I like them for bluegill fishing. They maybe 1 out of every 50 times crappie fishing, I think they matter. The rest of the time, it's more about presentation. But hey, if it makes you feel better, stuff this little joker full of a crappie bite and go to fishing. All right, so where are these fish at? So this is where they're typically at, but we've got high water. The water's come up, and it's deep. It's deep and it's muddy. So where these fish went, a lot of times this time of year, they're going to be getting in this muddier water. They're going to be getting up here in this high water column, and they may be just under the top. Sometimes they may be out here, but they're sitting out here. They're not necessarily holding to the structure. Are they around the structure? Yes. So where the fish typically are going to be come April, come March, where the fish are typically at in January, February, and in between there, that's where they're going to look. Now you say, okay, funny things happen whenever we have influxes of rain, because what happens is when it's pouring down rain, the Corps of Engineers, they shut the dam off and the water begins to back up. As it begins to rise, what happens is closer to the dam, you're going to have water clarity because the mud hasn't pushed down through there. In a week, 2 weeks, when it quits raining, what they're going to do is they're going to open the floodgates, and they're going to start drawing that lake down. As that happens, then you are going to have to transition from fishing the water that you were fishing down closer next to the dam. You're going to have to then flip-flop and go back probably closer to up the creeks. Now, not way up the creek, but where you start seeing that mud line, you're going to want to fish on each end of the mud line where the water is just completely chocolate. It looks like you can almost walk through it. You're going to need to avoid that. Find water. It doesn't have to be crystal clear, but just find water that has a little bit more clarity, a little bit more green to it, and that's where you're going to want to start looking. But these fish here, they were here. Now they're hanging out over here. They're hanging out. They may be just right above it, but they're going to be. They're still trying to feed. So look for bait. But you're going to want to see bait kind of down in here. This is the one thing that if you see, pick up your trolling motor and go find somewhere else. If you put down your live scope and the water is chocolate brown, and in between the 3 foot and the about 7 foot mark, you just see all kinds of dots and fish swimming, and there's no correlation to what it is. It just kind of looks like this. Pick it up and go. The fish are not going to bite there. I went 3 years ago. It was in March. I've been catching plenty of good fish. Water came up, chocolate milk. I saw this all across the lake. I didn't get a bite the entire day. I never got a fish turn around. Nothing happened. So if we see this, we've got to move. This was how it was just a few days ago on Green River Lake. We seen this. We looked, no bites. We went 3/4 of a mile down the lake, found better water clarity, and we caught some really good fish. So if you see this on your sonar in really muddy water, get away from it. All right, if you have questions, comments, concerns, please leave them. We'll either address them in a video or we'll ignore them. But we appreciate all of your support and helping us. Thanks to our sponsors that sponsor us, and I'm really looking forward to this spring. I hope that you catch fish. More importantly, I hope that I catch fish. We'll see you on the water.